Okay, so numbers 7 through 12 in this exercise are pretty straightforward, so I'm just going to whiz through them all in this one video. In number 7, we're asked to get a list of invoices that have no payment activity to date and display all columns. So we're going to select all from invoices where payment date is null. Now, we've talked about assessing null values. We use is null, not equals null. It's just, one of those quirks that you have to remember, okay? So you might be tempted to use the payment total in a problem like this, but the payment total, it's a money value, and if there is no payment, that total would be 0. It would not be null. And furthermore, I'm looking at the specs for this this column, and it's not null, meaning nulls are not allowed. So really the better column in this case is the payment date, because nulls are allowed there. See, it says null. That means you can have nothing in that column. So if there's nothing in that column, a payment has never been made. So anyway, moving on to number 8. Get a list of invoices where the invoice number begins with P or Q. Okay, typical wild card type of situation. Recall that our % sign stands for just anything at all, anything or nothing at all, any character, any group of characters, whatever. So we're told that we're supposed to find invoices that begin with a P or a Q. And so one thing you obviously want to remember when you're doing wildcards, you use the like operator. Do not use equals, okay? If you use something like this, the equal sign is very literal. So it would be literally looking for an invoice number that was P % sign, which does not exist. So that's not going to work. Okay, and again, we have a compound condition here. It's like P, or the invoice number is like Q, okay? All right, and then number 9, it says get a list of invoices that have dashes in the invoice number. Okay, this is another wildcard situation where we're looking for an invoice number that's like this, okay? We don't care what comes first, if anything, what comes last, if anything, but there's a dash somewhere in that invoice number. And that'll pick up any invoices numbers with a dash. Okay, and then number 10, it says get a list of invoices that have multiple dashes in the invoice number. Display all columns in your results. So some of these invoice numbers have multiple dashes. And, I admit this is not the best question. It's not the most interesting thing, but you can make it work. So using wildcards, I've set up kind of a pattern here. I don't care what comes first, if anything. There's going to be at least one dash, and then maybe something else in the middle, and then another dash somewhere else in that number. So this, I have 2 dashes in my pattern that I'm setting up. So this is going to pick up anything that has 2 or more dashes. Any invoice number that only has 1 dash is not going to make the cut here. Okay, it would up here in the previous problem, but not this one. Only 2 or more would make the cut in this case. Okay, number 11. Going to get a rough list of vendors. Now we're switching to the vendors table. Vendors that deal with publishing, publications, or printing. This is another wildcard type of example. Assuming that the vendor name has some kind of, I guess I can let me do a quick query of all these so we can look at some of these vendor names. Okay, looking at these vendor names here. Now, of course, here, look, Crown Printing, Diversified Printing, and Pub. So we'll use the vendor name. I mean, this is not an exact science here, but the vendor name is kind of a tip as to whether or not they deal with this, with publishing, printing. You know what, look, it's a small press. That's something I wasn't thinking about when I wrote the solution to this, but that would be another, printer type of thing. So we're going to select all from vendors where vendor name like Pub, having the word publisher, publishing, or even just pub you saw in the one that we just looked at, or vendor name like print, again, printing, printers. I would even take this a step further and say like press, because we saw that one when we were just looking. So again, it's not going to be exact, but you're going to pick up a lot of them that deal with that type of thing. Okay, so number 12, this is an easy one. We're going to use the in operator to find vendors in LA, Brea, Anaheim, Mission Viejo. Could we do this with an and, or with an or, rather, chaining the or operator, where vendor city equals Los Angeles, or vendor city equals Brea, or vendor city equals Anaheim? Yeah, you can, but this is a lot cleaner when you're looking for a set of things or a collection of things. Just use your in operator and put your comma delimited list of things in parentheses. It's just really nice minimalist syntax there.